Hey guys, Keenan here. Just wanted to go ahead and give you some of my thoughts about the Omaha PTC, how it went. I had a very whirlwind vacation. It was a solid 2 days of get there, sleep, get the hell out of there. So me and Ashley went up on Friday. We got to Omaha around midnight. And we were staying with Daniel and Miles Tyler, and they were out finishing the extended tournament at the time, and then they were going to dinner. So we are in an hour backwards in Omaha time, like basically 1 a.m. in the morning, with nowhere to go. So we went over to UFS University's house and got to hang out with all the UFSU guys. We played some Jackbox games, had a lot of fun. I had a blast there. I wasn't even drinking, and I was just everybody's so ridiculous and so high energy. It was a lot of fun. We were out there until about 2 a.m. in the morning, so 3 our time, and we were conking out, but having a blast. And finally, Miles and Danielle ended up getting home, so we followed them out there. And when we got in, it was interesting because we had a futon, which was great, but it was also in a room full of about like 7 other dudes. And Ashley was actually fine with it. She took Benadryl and passed right out, but I was trapped solely in the land of snore. Um, Basically, just constant cacophony the entire night. She took Benadryl, so she's out, and I didn't do that, and I paid for it the next morning, and pretty much throughout the rest of the weekend. So we woke up the next morning, and Danielle Tyler had made us breakfast. It was utterly fantastic. I had crepes with Nutella and bananas and whipped cream, sausage, bacon, eggs, the whole shebang. And she was cooking for like 13 people. Danielle did an incredible job. Just like Danielle and Miles and Kyrie all together was it's an incredible like hospitable family. They were absolutely great to stay with. I 100% would stay with them again, given the opportunity to go back to Omaha. So really enjoyed that. Headed out, picked up some earbuds over at CVS, or not earbuds, but earplugs, so I could sleep for the next couple days. And then went to Starbucks, and it was the smallest Starbucks in the entire universe. With way more people per amount of square footage than should be legally allowed, probably a fire hazard. It took about 30 minutes, and I finally got my coffee, which that day was a Trenta, which is I'd never even seen this before. Starbucks has had the venti, but now they offer the Trenta, which in Starbucks is a coffee silo. So we basically got super caffeinated and got ready to play about 6 to 8 hours of cards. So got to the tournament, was almost late because the Starbucks was so inefficient, but they were lucky enough. We were lucky enough for them to extend the time. It was great, and then sat down against my first round opponent. And I'm so sorry. I'm very bad with names as it comes to people that I've even played in tournaments just once. So I apologize. I'm not really sure. The first person I played was playing Cherry, and my deck the entire first day was just not giving me what I needed. Three build maximum openers, constant mulliganing for worse hands. It was just bad. There was really no reason I should have beat this guy except for the fact that he was playing Cherry. So that kind of explains how that went. So I was 1-0 going into my next round against Ringman, and he hit me for an unblockable 16 damage with an How Do You Like Them Apples into the Akuma attack where he discards 2 momentum and I can't block it. And I was at 16, so I definitely just got utterly decimated by this like ridiculous Ringman deck. It was a blast to watch and kind of hilarious to lose to. So I was like, damn it! But at the same time, I mean, what can you do? It's Ringman against a 7-hander. That's sort of how it goes. So round 3, I got to play against a newer player playing Lilith. And like I said, he's a newer player, and I don't remember any of these 3 guys' names that I played, and I'm really sorry for that. But yeah, we had a good match, but at the end of the day, the pro deck is very broken, and here we are. So I won that one, and then went against, I believe his name was Mark, and this is the guy who won the previous day's extended tournament playing Spike 1 with no extended cards. So I was playing the extended tournament winner with his extended deck, which was also his standard deck. The lucky thing for me is that against Spike, I actually have a really decent matchup because my deck, since I put in Revoke, now has an auto answer to Swordfish, and it also plays like a bunch of copies of my kill cards because of Tech Sphere. So I was able to kind of overwhelm him and push him out. So at this point, I'm 3-1 going into my next match. I just need to be 4-1-1 to go in. I know for a fact. So I get paired up against Will Howard, and Will's name I do remember because I got to play his Devora deck for a solid like maybe hour and a half later that night, and we actually had the best match of the tournament in my opinion. It was him playing Death Vega, and I'd been playing against Death Good Stuff, but Vega adds an extra level of difficulty when it comes to like actually trying to go for the kill because suddenly your punches and your Judies are now 4 diffs, 5 diffs, 6 diffs. Sometimes if you got 3 attacks in your card pool, he can really mess you up with a well-timed prepared to fight, and his swordfishes obviously are just a giant pain in the ass the entire time. So not to mention, I wasn't using a notepad this entire tournament, which was my mistake. I thought I could go by without it, but I ended up making a ton of play mistakes because of not remembering exactly what vitality total my opponent was at, and not being able to like do quick math on the fly. It's a lot easier when you've got pen and paper. So I put him to 2 with 3 pulled to match against in his staging area and realized automatically, like, I cannot win this game. That was in game 2, and he ended up closing that thing out with just this gigantic slew of 4 difficulty attacks that were all for way too much damage. So we went into game 3. I killed him directly at time, and this is significant because my deck has never gone to time, ever since I've started playing it. So it was the only time it's ever happened. It was a really intense game back and forth. Will's an incredible player. I got to play, like I said, I got to play his Devora deck a little bit later, and I had so much freaking fun beating up Jeremy Ray with this ridiculous Mortal Kombat character who's going to be very silly when she comes out. So yeah, I beat Will. I'm 4-1. I'm exhausted. My deck's been crapping on me all day. I'm just really not. Sorry. I'm really just not interested in another grueling slog of a match, and now I'm going up against Tyler playing Metal Man, and Ashley was playing Metal Man at that tournament, and she was 2-3 a little bit further down the table, so she was the only diversity that Tyler was facing, and I had no diversity because this character hasn't gotten fourth in Worlds and won a PTC, but. I don't know. So nobody wanted to play him, I guess. So yeah, I was just like, hey, it looks like we're both making 4-1-1. If we take the draw here, would you like to do that? Because I would really like to relax. And he was like, yes. So we shook. I watched the Legendary Wolf's Crunchyroll account for a solid hour while the rounds finished, and it was great. Very relaxing. So they finally announced top cuts. And up at the top, we had Aaron Cook, who had been playing a Fae deck all day. Fae, for those of you who haven't really been closely following the meta, she's widely considered the worst of the characters out of Cowboy Bebop. So for Aaron to be all the way at the top with her, meaning that he was playing some really sick stuff. I got to play him top 16 at Worlds, and I didn't my deck drew so hot I didn't give him a time to set up or do anything cute. But he had been walloping people all day with this like super hard control build. Graven Castle 4x. Woodman's Leaf Shields for -4 damage on everything with Faye's ability included. Big Cyclone, and he would kill you by just like playing a Black Dog's Fangs after having a 30 Foundation staging area and then hitting you with it 6 or 7 more times. So that deck was absolutely incredible. Second place we had Chris Nixon playing his variant of Spike. I got to play that in Top Cuts. That was my first round opponent. And then I think it went something along the lines of like Chris Rhinus, James Stevens. Now I get a little bit muffled there, but the top cuts, it was interesting how the symbol spread broke out. There were 2 fire decks, me and Tyler. There were 3 order decks, which was Runica, played by Jeremy Ray, Asimov and Katarina, played by James Stevens, and then a third. Oh yeah, Les playing Ed 9. Yeah, Les and Les, Jeremy, and Tyler were the other 3. Then there were 2 good decks and then a death deck, and the good decks being Faye and the Athena, played by Chris, and then the death deck being other Chris playing Spike. So there were 4 whole symbols represented in all of tops, and 3 whole symbols? 4. Death, fire, good, and order. Wow. It's incredible, considering order is considered one of the worst symbols in the game. And fire is really good with punch and Judy's, which we saw, and death is obviously good with Spike, and good is good. So here we are. So that night, me, Ashley, Phil and Jeremy went out to Twin Peaks, which was Ashley's idea, not mine, I promise. And we got some of the coldest beer in the entire universe. They keep a sign up in their Twin Peaks, like on the wall, that's got like electronic numbers that changes as the temperature of the beer changes. Their beer was tempered at about 29.1. So when we got it, there were little beer icicles in it, which was awesome because it was also like 98 freaking degrees outside at about 9 p.m. So we drank ice beer and we got chicken and waffles with jalapeno cream cheese with maple syrup spread all over it. It was absolutely incredible. Jeremy made the call. I followed along and did not regret it at all. It was amazing. After that, we headed back to Miles's house. We got to hang out with Abby. We hung out with, played a bunch of UFS games with Jeremy. We had someone brought these legacy decks. There was a Legacy Dan deck, the one that like it's basically Jackie Briggs but way better because it draws you 5 cards instead of just 3. And then this Galford deck, which was like the really bad Galford from the first KOF set that just rereadies your foundations, then has a response that does absolutely nothing for anyone ever. And we got to play that, and I got to kill the Dan player by blocking with a Burning Knuckle, reversaling with a 6 difficulty reversal. So on a 7, I readied probably about 10 foundations because this is the Galford reversal that readies foundations equal to the damage it deals. And then there were Shinobi traditions involved, and then there was Wandering Master, which builds you more foundations when you block things. And then I blocked and reversed and blocked and reversed 2 more times during that turn to kill this guy. And it was amazing because we had all these players who were just non-legacy players whatsoever. They were coming into the game fresh and new, looking at this going like, that's the most broken bullshit I've ever seen. And I was like, yes it is, and that is legacy. So that was really cool, getting a chance to show some newer players some of the beauty of old UFS. Then we moved on to me and Jeremy. Jeremy had a Jackie Briggs deck, and I got to play Will Howard's Devora deck, as I said. I beat Jeremy in those matches. We played 4 matches. I beat him 3 matches to 1 match. And what I will say is that the MVP of my deck was a non-foiled Egotistical. You can ask Phil Birch about that. It was hands down the most clutch card of the match. Phil Birch was basically doing our commentary for us, which is always a good time. So shout outs to Phil for that commentary. Shout outs to Will for the deck, and shout outs to that Egotistical for not being foiled. So yeah, going into the next day after earplugs, which were passed out to the entire room because everybody was so sick of hearing each other snore, we got great sleep, and it made a big difference for me because I had a much better tournament day. We woke up and Danielle made breakfast again, but instead of crepes, she made this crazy Finnish souffle pancake thing with this homemade jam that went on top, and then you put whipped cream on top of that. It was amazing. I can't remember the name to save my life. It sounds like pancake in a really weird European accent I'm not going to try to butcher here, but it was so good. And then we got to the shop, and we got to the shop probably around 11. And me and Ash's flight leaves at this point. We board at 5:49, so we've got about 6 to 7-ish hours to complete 3 untimed rounds. The problem with this is that the first match that gets on the board, besides me and my matches is against Chris Nixon, is Jeremy playing against Aaron Cook's Fey deck. And if you know anything about Jeremy Ray, he's a very methodical player. He likes to make good plays. And when he does this, he can take a long time. And he's playing against the slowest deck on the planet, played by Aaron Cook, who is also a very methodical player. And if they weren't methodical players, they wouldn't be there. But that's not helping my chances of making this flight. So me and Chris's match, just to kind of go back to that, I won it 2-1. And game 1, he's playing Spike, and I'm expecting this slow, grindy control build. And I think he wins the dice roll, builds his foundations, I build mine, and I'm holding Revoke, mid-block Revoke. I'm good. There's no way I'm dying to a Spike right now. I can literally, like, if he wants to play a Vengeance on me, fine, I'll take 6. I still have plenty of time left to live my life. If he wants to try to go with the Swimming Bird, I've got a block for it, and then whatever. So this man goes Homing Missiles. I revoked the Homing Missiles Enhanced, blocked. Second homing missiles. I failed my block. I checked my coffee samba on the block, so I took some damage. Next homing missiles, I'm like, all right, go ahead and I'll burn for 3. And then I take my 5 damage off my homing missiles. And somehow this leaves me at 5. And then he swimming birds me. And I die. and it's really bad. So I realized this going into game two and three that this is the most aggressive spike build I think I've ever played against. And so I shouldn't take it lightly. So I got really lucky in my defensive play going into the next couple games. Very fortunate being able to do a little bit to mitigate his stuff. I think in game two I ended up killing him on like turn three or four. Like that was a really fast murder game, and then the next game was kind of this nice back and forth, and then I was able to edge him out towards the end of it. But it was a very intense set of games. Chris is an amazing player, and obviously playing the top spike deck and making it as aggressive as it was with napalm bombs, homing missiles, tons of bangs, skull barriers, all of that. Like the damage was just so much more than I've seen Spike do. So I was really impressed by the ability that he had to make that deck what it was. So my next round, I got to play against James Stevens playing Asimov and Katarina, and if you watched any of the Worlds videos, you would know that this was my top four match last time at Worlds, and I got utterly obliterated. I was all nerves at Worlds. I was just like I was freaking the fuck out. It was the last time that I'd ever been that close to winning anything, and it hit me after a grueling 2-1 match against a Dimitri sighting into Stone Man, where I lost against the Dimitri deck, and then I had to 2-0 the Stone Man playing a Punch and Judy deck, which, if you know anything about Stone Man, that's not your best matchup. So, like, at that point at Worlds, I was completely fried. So I get to go back into this matchup. I know a little bit more about it now. I know that I'm not supposed to put in out of your leagues, even though he plays Chainblade. I got to keep my revokes in. I know that the homing explosives doesn't really do anything. That there's not a whole lot of extra sideboarding that I should be doing. So I kept my game plan the same. I lost game one because I just didn't draw gas, and then games two and three ended up kind of being these slugfests where I ended up taking it out just off the back of a being like Tech Sphere being 4 speed. So when he blocks with Cool and Focus, if he doesn't check perfectly, he just gets like just screwed by it. So that worked out really well for me. So at this point, Jeremy got to play against both good decks, which were both pretty slow, and that man's in finals and I'm in finals, and it's 3 o'clock. I have 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get to my flight before boarding time. So we sat down and we played some good UFS. I didn't have the nerves this time. Like it was really easy in terms of just like feeling comfortable playing cards. I love playing against Jeremy. He's an incredible opponent. But we've gotten to the point where I feel very comfortable bullshitting around him. If you watch the stream, I highly recommend that you do that. There are a lot of really dumb things that happen. My favorite dumb thing happened game one, where he wins the dice roll and goes first and builds, and then I build four. So he goes into his turn, and Runica's getting one of my foundations out of my staging area. So he whips out a hyper bomb, stuns me for 2. I've got a 5 check on the top of my deck. I block with Folktale Storyteller, which is a perfect block. Mill 3, build my foundation back. So I'm back to 4 foundations. We freaking did it. I feel pretty good about that. My other 2 cards in my hand are a Judy and an ISSP Execution. He drops Ein's Brain Scratch, which makes me discard a card. If it's not an attack card, I will give this attack +3 speed. Well, I don't want to do that, and I've got a low block that's my non-attack, so I discard the ISSP and rip into a punch. I full block the Brain Scratch, and then he rips out the Leaping Neck Chomp for 10 afterwards, and I'm like, oh god. I happen to have a +1 high block in my hand. As long as I don't check a Coffee Samba, I've perfect blocked 3 attacks on turn 2. His build is going to get horribly stunted, and he's got nothing to show for it, and I ripped the 5 off the top to pass, and it was just this like, oh, okay, I guess this is how this game is going to go. So I pushed him out of game 1 pretty handily, and then game 2, I think I built like 3 or 4 going second, and his turn 2 ended up being something along the lines of Runica Form, Stink Gas, into another attack, which I ended up basically losing most of my staging area on that. He set me back so much. So I rip up into an attack, or a hand that's like maybe 3 attacks, 2 actions, 2 foundations, and it's just totally useless because if I check a 1 on these attacks, I just lose my turn. So I have to build. He plays some more stuff to debuild me with Runicon, I think maybe another Stink Gas or so. So I just, like, he completely pushed me out of that game. And then game 3, I ended up getting him, not with an Allurophobia, because that would be too easy. But I ripped up the hand that was going to win. I think it was turn 3. And I look at this hand and I hear Jeremy say from across the table, "That face means I'm going to die." And I look back at my hand. I thought that I had a pretty good poker face at this point, but evidently it was just like me going completely silent after seeing this. It was Alluraphobia, which I didn't even need to play. ISSP didn't need to play. Revoke, Folktale Storyteller, and 3 Coffee Sumps. And I had hit Jeremy for 7 with an ISSB execution because he checked a 3 on a prepare to fight earlier in the game. So he was at 20, and he only had 3 foundations down. His build was not very good that game, so I got to go Coffee, Stun You for 2. The only foundation that I had was relevant was Mother Russia, and I had the Revoke for it. So I didn't even draw his cards. I just let him stay at 2 cards in hand, pump the speed to 6, damage with Curse Fate. Here's 6 damage. You go to 14. Here's another 6 damage for the second Coffee. You go to like 9 or 8. I don't know if I discarded for Curse Fate off that one. And then here's a final Coffee. Flip over, double the Captain's Discontent. So there were 3 Coffees. If you are aware of Spanish, 30 is Treinta. So I hit him with the Treinta that I started my tournament with for absolute game. And it was incredible. I didn't think going into this tournament, I figured there were going to be a lot of people teching for Perot, and they did tech for Perot, but I didn't have to face against any of these good decks that were actually playing like the big Cyclone, like really, really hard tech. So when they're only playing Cool and Focused, and you get the opportunity to throw a Tech Sphere out that's a little bit too fast for Cool and Focused to block when they're tapped out, it got me into the situations I needed to get in to win the tournament. So that felt really good. So at this point in our day, if you're keeping track of our playing time schedule, it's now about 4:30. Our flight boards in less than an hour and a half. So we hop in the car and we GPS it to the nearest Hertz drop-off. This is my first time renting a car ever. Didn't really know where to go, so we figured GPS, Google in Hertz Airport, it'll get you where you need to go. So we got to a Hertz and we're like, this is not anywhere near the airport. And we realize, oh my God, we are 15 minutes away. So we drive another 15 minutes out of our way to get to a second Hertz that's right next to the airport, but this is still not the rental car drop-off. So we're just like, oh my God, what's going on? Where do we go? We can't. Google is failing us. And we had Anthony in our back seat, who ended up being on our flight. Anthony Hall. He's in Pensacola, so he had to go to Atlanta to catch a transfer. And this guy goes, I think I saw a rental car sign. Whoa! Change the game. Okay, so where's the rental car sign? So we hop back on the road, we start heading down it, and we cannot see. Me and Ashley are blind to these rental car signs. And Anthony's sitting in the back seat going, rental car, rental car, rental car. And somehow we get to the rental car spot. We're trying to return the rental car. Somebody's parked in the spot we're supposed to return it in. So we're like, where do we put this? We put it in a random spot. We start running toward the van is literally driving away. I'm not making any of this up. This was an intense moment. We had like maybe 30 minutes to get at that point from the rental car to the gate. And so we're like running. This dude from Hertz is like, hey, you got to bring it over here to return your car. We're like, screw it, we gotta go. I threw him the keys. He caught him. He was like, great, man. We hop in the frickin' in the bus, and the bus driver was like, oh, you guys gotta go. Okay, they dropped us right off at the Delta gate. Ran, got our boarding passes. I ended up leaving my water bottle there on accident. Like it was just a mess. And we got to security, and there was no line whatsoever. And we're like, wow, because we live in Atlanta, where the airport is the busiest in the entire world. So we were not expecting that. So we get up to security, and we hand them our boarding passes, and they're like, okay, cool. We go through security. So we go through security. They had to check my bag because I had dice in it. They saw the dice. They were like, okay. And we turn around, and our gate is staring us right in the face. Literally, A2, big yellow letters, right there. First gate, not even, like you literally walk and you're practically in the plane. It was insane. We got there probably about 5 minutes left until boarding, and then we hopped on the flight and we went home. And it was crazy. And the entire vacation, like it was less than 48 hours really, and it was incredible. We had such a blast. I want to go ahead and give some shout outs to some people who made this whole thing awesome. First off, Ashley, thank you so much for letting me drag you along to this thing. I'm sorry for putting you in what ended up being a gigantic locker room of snoring men. But I really she was such a trooper all weekend, and she's awesome and incredible, obviously, and I love her, etc. So I'm sorry to make everybody vomit. I know Abby was saying that she was vomiting watching us at the tournament. Um, Second off to Miles and Danielle Tyler. They put us up for the weekend. We got to see Miles's shop, which is so beautiful and so weird to see in this really mainstream mall, just this nerd shop sitting there, like right between like a Hot Topic and a Bath and Body Works. I don't actually know what it's between, but it was so surreal watching a business which businesses that are notorious for how well they are able to fail in being card shops and having such a hard time driving profit margins and being successful, turning into this really successful business. He has done such an incredible job. They do streaming. They're hosting 100-player Smash tournaments. The shop itself looks immaculate. It looks like a store you're walking into in a mall. They've lit it beautifully. The board game selection is top notch. They've got TVs that you can bring gaming setups. You can just watch their Crunchyroll account while you're there for like 2 hours. It's $5. It's super worth it if you don't have Crunchyroll. On top of that, their stream setup was insane. They had these very comfortable gaming chairs you got to sit in while they were streaming you. They have it's unreal. I've never seen a game shop look this good. So if you were ever in Omaha and you ever get the opportunity to visit it, I highly recommend this. It's just a great place to be. Daniel Tyler, obviously, just the beautiful breakfast spreads that were laid out were that was more than we could ask for. We appreciated getting a spot to sleep and shower, but the breakfast was just above and beyond the call. It was Midwestern hospitality at its best. We were so fortunate to be there with you guys. So thank you so much. It was great seeing Kyrie again. She's ridiculous as always. And their dog, the husky with the bluest eyes that stare directly into your soul. I will literally, if I go back to that house, spend probably a solid 2 hours petting that dog. I didn't get enough time just to stare into that dog's soul while it stares back at me, and it's like, please pet me, and I'm like, yes, yes, this is all I want to do right now. I was very drunk on Saturday night, and that dog got a lot of attention because it is just so lovable and just fluffy and wonderful, and that dog is the best thing. Um, Beyond that, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Jasco crew. It was great getting to see not just Shane, because he goes to all the PTCs now as the head judge, but we got to see Luke Butler, Sam Stevens, Jason. Sam was an incredible. She was behind the desk all weekend at the shop, taking people's match results and basically running the entire thing for them, because like Miles had to play, Danielle had to play. She put the whole store on her back and was rocking out. So it was really great to see all the employees from Jasco coming out to really not just support the game, but to show FaceTime with the players and people who hadn't got a chance to meet them, getting a chance to shake their hand and learn more about how the game is made and how they run their operation. So that was incredible. Beyond that, a couple more shout outs. Just William Howard. Obviously, thank you so much for letting me play your Devora deck. Thank you so much for like probably one of the best games that I will play with that Perot deck until the Lurphobia gets banned or Perot becomes obsolete because Mortal Kombat comes out and you can't give Coffee Samba stun anymore or multiple. And then again, a gigantic shout out to Jeremy Ray, because he is one of the best players in the game, has been that way for years. It's absolutely just, I have so much fun talking the game, playing the game. We had incredible anime conversations at Twin Peaks where everybody was just gushing over My Hero Academia. His playmat, if anybody saw it, is Eraserhead with the ridiculous face saying, "Try not to actually die." And I loved that mat the entire, like I was like, I just want that mat. I don't even need more play mats. I have way too many, but that is something that has to go in my collection at some point. So it was honestly, it was great to see the old guard, the seventh and eighth seed after Swiss getting to mash into each other in the finals. So I got to play tons of old players, tons of new players. And Jeremy is always at the forefront of competitive play in UFS, bringing a Runica deck, a character that has top aided maybe twice in its entire life in the like 3 years that it's been legal to a finals of a very highly competitive pro tour, is incredible, and only Jeremy Ray could do that. So thank you, man. The games were a blast. Other than that, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about the tournament, guys. It was short and it was intense and there was a lot. and I loved seeing everybody. And my UFS family is the greatest family on the face of the planet. So thank you all so much. It was an honor to get a chance to bop a PTC. I now have a free plane ticket, so that's cool. We'll see where that ends up going. It might just be on a regular vacation because I've been playing so much UFS recently. But again, it was great to see everybody. I love you all. Thank you all so much for continuing to support this incredible game, and I will see you at probably Nationals. All right, take care.